Hi, I'm Mentour Lawyer. I'm about to start a tennis match with a French Bull. And the French Bull and I actually discussed the case of the state of Florida versus Charles Adelson and the entire case about the murder of Dan Markel quite often. Because the murder happened just a block away on Trescott Drive. We actually drive by the murder scene quite often.
Yeah, I do drive.
So one of the things that we talk about often is about, whether anyone else is going to be charged, whether Donna Adelson will be charged or Wendi Adelson will be charged. And so one of the things I'm going to talk about this video, and we're going to also get a take from Mr. French Bull after I'm done, is what is the biggest holdup? What is holding the prosecutors back as to charging Wendi Adelson in particular? So in my opinion, the biggest reason why they don't charge, or they haven't charged Wendi Adelson yet, has to do with the fact that the evidence against her, and there is evidence against her, all of the evidence that we have so far is evidence about her behavior and her statements before the murder, like in the weeks leading up to the murder, her change in demeanor during the first trip in June by the hitman, and the statements that she made in the week leading up to the murder, the things that she revealed during her interrogation. There's a ton of evidence that I'm going to discuss in a separate video. But none of that is direct evidence of involvement. A lot of it is evidence that she was aware that the murder was going to happen, but doesn't prove that she was actually involved. Now, of course, she has the smarts. She's a smart woman. She's a lawyer.
She thinks.
Well, she's at least she has the intellectual capability.
She has a law degree, but she was never a real lawyer. She never defended any case, any customer. She has a law degree.
No. She was more than that. She has practiced law, and she also wrote a novel. So she has the skills.
Anybody can.
She has she has the intellectual capability of putting this whole plot together. But there's just no evidence of her direct participation. And then there's some exculpatory evidence. There's, for example, a wiretap conversation between Donna and Charlie, where they're discussing the fact that Wendi was super lucky and she doesn't know how lucky she is, which can be seen as her not being involved in the murder, but to me can also be seen as her not being involved in the details and not specifically being involved in the efforts after the fact of keeping the people who were involved, Sigfredo Garcia and Katherine Magbanua, happy. So they had to keep them happy with additional payments from the Adelson Institute, etc., etc. So that's the main reason, is that they don't have...
By the way, I'll make a side comment.
Sure.
$1,000 a month for a murderer, that's cheap.
That is very cheap, yes, of course. So
cheap
it was kind of like a soft extortion, in a sense, of the additional payments. It is kind of cheap. Overall, the whole murder was very cheap. That's no doubt. And I guess it is sad that there's so many people
That's why you get what you pay for, right?
Yeah, that's true. So, I mean, to me, the main reason why Wendi hasn't been charged is because although there's evidence suggesting her involvement and her knowledge, there isn't any solid, concrete evidence showing her direct participation in the conspiracy. Now, I think that even if she only knew, I think that is enough to hold her criminally responsible, because although the law in this issue is very questionable, it's very... there's not a lot of case law on this issue. I think that she had a duty to report it, even if she was divorced from him. In general, people don't have a duty to report. If you hear that a friend is going to commit a crime, you don't have a duty to report it. You cannot be held responsible in general for not reporting that. But in this case, the two main victims would have been Dan Markel's sons, and she was the mom. So to me, she had an obligation and a legal duty to report that, because the murder of Dan Markel has a direct impact on the father.
Maybe she chose to...
And the children.
She chose to ignore it. Like, I kind of know, but I don't want to know.
Yes, that's also a possibility that some people think. Of course, everybody wants her to be the mastermind behind this whole thing, but... So what are your thoughts? Do you think they're ever going to charge Wendi?
No, I do not believe so.
Why?
Well, it took them, the prosecutors, 7 years to charge the guy who's obviously responsible, Charlie. So by now, if they had more evidence, I think they would have charged Wendi. And I don't know the case as much as you do. I just know what I see on YouTube and what I've talked about you, which is very little. But I'm guessing that most likely she was aware but not directly involved. And I don't see, based on the YouTube video you produced and what I produced, that the state has any evidence whatsoever. In the sense that they have hardcore evidence against Charlie. That was obvious, but discussion that he may not have had with his sister that were not recorded, we will never know.
I think that,
and I don't think they have any solid evidence to tie her to the murder.
Sure. I think obviously the fact that there was this sting operation in South Florida with the FBI, the so-called bump, and that there's nothing including Wendi after the bump, that hurts the case against her. Because she was excluded completely. It was only Donna, Harvey, and Charlie talking about the bump. So anyway, we're going to get to tennis.
She has been, I don't know much of it, I guess. So whatever I think is what, people who've watched a few minutes or maybe more than a few minutes of YouTube video thinks. I don't know what James,
Of course.
And I'm not a lawyer. I'm a, tennis player.
A regular person.
But I do know. In some ways, the family has been punished quite a bit, even though she's not going to jail. Being seen as a murderer in the eyes of the public. Maybe that's not an easy life to live with on a daily basis. And at some point, our kids, when they grow up and they're going to learn about the case, when they are teenagers, they're going to be asking themselves some questions. They're going to ask her some questions. As I told James last time, I'm sure that they don't believe that she's responsible. But, imagine as teenagers, 17, 18, and they have a fight with their mom. Imagine the kind of thing they can throw to her face. Oh, yeah, you killed Dad, or, you were involved, and things like this, even though they don't think about it. So in some ways, she may not go to jail, but
there is some justice.
There is some justice
in the fact that all this public attention has been put on the case, and a lot of blame has been put on the entire family. So that is a measure of justice as well.
She's a lawyer.
Yes.
Try to find a decent job at a law firm with that kind of reputation.
Sure.
Good luck with that. That's why she works for what? Some kind of bullshit non-profit?
Yeah.
Because she cannot find a real job. Why? Because everybody thinks she's guilty.
Yep. So now we're going to go back into the tennis courts to play tennis.
The real issue of the day.
The real issue of the day is who's going to win, French Bull or Federer? Because on the tennis court, I'm not Mentour Lawyer, I'm Federer. You can watch the highlights on my other channel. Thanks for watching, Mentour Lawyer and...
what's my name again? French Bull.
French Bull. Thank you guys. Bye-bye. Okay, French Bull, you got a big win against Mentour Lawyer, aka Federer.
Yeah, 3 tight set. No score, but it was very close. Very close. I got him at the end.
He got me at the end on horrible set for the French for Federer. Awesome set for the French Bull.
Yeah, he was busy last week, so he couldn't.
Anyway, that's fine. I want to ask you your final thoughts. Anything else came up to your mind as you were playing tennis against me about Wendi Adelson? Any final thoughts you want to share?
Well, to be honest, I didn't think about that when I was playing tennis. No, final thought is I don't believe they will indict anybody else in the family. I think that's pretty much the end of the road for that case.
All right. Well, I hope you're wrong.
I don't know if there's any appeal for. The only thing that I'm very wondering to this day is why Katherine Magbanua, if I said correctly, never got a deal at the beginning and avoided life in jail. I mean, she has 2 young children. I don't know how they are, but for a young mother to be away from her kids for things that
it is bizarre.
That is bizarre. That's the main question that I have.
All right. Well, thank you, French
and
Bull.
also, I want to ask, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna sound like an asshole. Is Charlie said he had a 5-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Okay. Who in their right mind would make a child with that guy?
Yeah.
Knowing he was under investigation for murder, and that's appealing to women. Yeah, a guy that might be going to jail for life, or maybe that was the appeal. She thought, well, if I have a kid with a guy who's to, jail for life, then it won't bother me.
He won't. No divorce battles. Yeah, that's it.
No divorce, no late night, no stinky in bed.
He's giving the victory speech.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everybody.